President Cleveland, Where Are You? By Robert Cormier. That was the autumn of the cowboy cards. Buck Jones and Tom Tyler and Hoot Gibson and especially Ken Maynard. The cards were available in those 5-cent packages of gum, pink sticks, 3 together, covered with a sweet white powder. You couldn't blow bubbles with that particular gum, but it couldn't have mattered less. The cowboy cards were important. The pictures of those rock-faced men with eyes of blue steel. On those wind-swept, leaf-tumbling afternoons we gathered after school on the sidewalk in front of Lemier's drug store across from St. Jude's parochial school, and we swapped and bargained and matched for the cards. Because of Ken Maynard's serial, a movie shown in episodes over time, was playing at the Globe every Saturday afternoon, he was the most popular cowboy of all, and one of his cards was worth at least 10 of any other kind. Rolly Tremaine had a treasure of 30 or so, and he guarded them jealously. He'd match you for the other cards, but he risked his Ken Maynard's only when the other kids threatened to leave him out of the competition altogether. You could almost hate Rolly Tremaine. In the first place, he was the only son of August Tremaine, who operated the uptown dry goods store, and he did not live in a tenement, or an apartment building often run down, but in a big white birthday cake of a house on Laurel Street. He was too fat to be effective in the football games between the Frenchtown Tigers and the Northside Knights, and he made us constantly aware of the jingle of coins in his pocket. He was able to stroll into Lemier's and casually select a quarter's worth of cowboy cards while the rest of us watched, aching with envy. Once in a while I earned a nickel or dime by running errands or washing windows for blind old Mrs. Belander, or by finding pieces of copper and brass and other valuable metals at the dump and selling them to the junk man. The coins clutched in my hand, I would race to Lemier's to buy a cowboy card or two, hoping that Ken Maynard would stare boldly at me as I opened the pack. At one time, before a disastrous matching session with Roger Lucier, my best friend, except where the cards were concerned, I owned 5 Ken Maynards and considered myself a millionaire of sorts. One week I was particularly lucky. I had spent 2 afternoons washing floors for Miss Belander and received a quarter. Because my father had worked a full week at the shop where a rush order for fancy combs had been received, he allotted or gave my brothers and sisters and me an extra dime along with the usual 10 cents for the Saturday afternoon movie. Setting aside the movie fare, I found myself with a bonus of 35 cents and then planned to put Rolly Tremaine to shame the following Monday afternoon. Monday was the best day to buy the cards because the candy man stopped at Lemier's every Monday morning to deliver the new assortments or collections of various things. There was nothing more exciting in the world than a fresh batch of cards. I rushed home from school that day and hurriedly changed my clothes, eager to set off for the store. As I burst through the doorway, letting the screen door slam behind me, my brother Armand blocked my way. He was 14, 3 years older than I, and a freshman at Monument High School. He had recently become a stranger to me in many ways, indifferent to such matters as cowboy cards and the Frenchtown Tigers, and he carried himself with a mysterious dignity and that was fractured now and then when his voice began shouting off in all directions like some kind of vocal firework. And he carried himself with a mysterious dignity, a quality of character that commands honor and respect, that was fractured or broken now and then when his voice began shooting off in all directions like some kind of vocal firework. "Wait a minute, Jerry," he said. "I want to talk to you." "Wait a minute, Jerry," he said. "I want to talk to you." He motioned me out of earshot of my mother, who was busy supervising the usual after-school skirmish, or minor conflict or fight, in the kitchen. I sighed with impatience. In recent months Armand had become a figure of authority. Siding with my father and mother occasionally, as the oldest son, he sometimes took advantage of his age and experience to issue rules and regulations. "How much money have you got?" he whispered. "You in some kind of trouble?" I asked, excitement rising in me as I remembered the blackmail plot of a movie at the Globe a month before. He shook his head in annoyance. "Look," he said, "it's Pa's birthday tomorrow. I think we ought to chip in and buy him something." I reached into my pocket and caressed the coins. "Here," I said carefully, pulling out a nickel. "If we all give a nickel, we should have enough money to buy him something pretty nice." He regarded me with contempt, scorn, intense disapproval. "Rita already gave me 15 cents, and I'm throwing in a quarter. Albert handed over a dime. All that's left of his birthday money. Is that all you can do? A nickel?" "Aw, come on," I protested. "I haven't got a single Ken Maynard left, and I was going to buy some cards this afternoon." "Ken Maynard?" he snorted. "Who's more important, him or your father?" His question was unfair, because he knew that there was no possible choice. My father had to be the only answer. My father was a huge man who believed in the things of the spirit, although my mother often maintained that the spirit he believed in came in bottles. He had worked at the Monument comb shop since the age of 14. His booming laugh, or grumble, greeted us each night when we returned from the factory. A steady worker when the shop had enough work, he quickened with gaiety on Friday nights and weekends, a bottle of beer in his elbow, and he was fond of making long speeches about the good things in life. In the middle of the Depression, for instance, he paid cash for a piano, of all things, and insisted that my twin sisters, Yolande and Yvette, take lessons once a week. I took a dime from my pocket and handed it to Armand. "Thanks, Jerry," he said. "I hate to take your last cent." "That's all right," I replied, turning away and consoling myself with the thought that 20 cents was better than nothing at all. When I arrived at Lemire's, I sensed disaster in the air. Roger Lucier was kicking disconsolately at a tin can in the gutter, and Rolly Tremaine sat sullenly on the steps in front of the store. "Save your money," Roger said. He had known about my plans to splurge on the cards. "What's the matter?" I asked. "There's no more cowboy cards," Rolly Tremaine said. "The company's not making any more. They're going to have president cards," Roger said, his face twisting with disgust. He pointed to the store window. "Look!" A place card in the window announced, "Attention, boys. Watch for the new series, Presidents of the United States. Free in each 5-cent package of caramel chew." "President cards?" I asked, dismayed. I read on. "Collect a complete set and receive an official imitation Major League Baseball glove embossed with Lefty Grove's autograph." Glove or no glove, who could become excited about presidents, of all things? Rolly Tremaine stared at the sign. "Benjamin Harrison, for crying out loud," he said. "Why would I want Benjamin Harrison when I've got 22 Ken Maynards?" I felt the warmth of guilt creep over me. I jingled the coins in my pocket, but the sound was hollow. No more Ken Maynards to buy? "I'm going to buy a Mr. Goodbar," Rolly Tremaine decided. I was without appetite, indifferent even to a Baby Ruth, which was my favorite. I thought of how I had betrayed Armand, and worst of all, my father. "I'll see you after supper," I called over my shoulder to Roger as I hurried away toward home. I took the short cut behind the church, although it involved leaping over a tall wooden fence, and I zigzagged recklessly through Mr. Thibaudet's garden, trying to outtrance my guilt. I pounded up the steps and into the house, only to learn that Armand had already taken Yolande and Yvette uptown to shop for the birthday present. I pedaled my bike furiously through the streets, ignoring the indignant horns of automobiles as I sliced through the traffic. Finally, I saw Armand and my sisters emerge from the Monument men's shop. My heart sank when I spied the long, slim package that Armand was holding. "Did you buy the present yet?" I asked, although I knew it was too late. "Just now, a blue tie," Armand said. "What's the matter?" "Nothing," I replied, my chest hurting. He looked at me for a long moment. At first his eyes were hard, but then they softened. He smiled at me most sadly and touched my arm. I turned away from him because I felt naked and exposed. "It's all right," he said gently. "Maybe you've learned something." The words were gentle, but they held a curious dignity, the dignity remaining even when his voice suddenly cracked on the last syllable. I wondered what was happening to me, because I did not know whether to laugh or cry. Sister Angela was amazed when a week before Christmas vacation everybody in the class submitted a history essay worthy of a high mark, in some cases as high as A-. Sister Angela did not believe that anyone in the world ever deserved an A. She never learned, or at least she never let on that she knew, we had all become experts on the presidents because of the cards we purchased at Lemire's. Each card contained a picture of a president, and on the reverse side a summary of his career. We looked at those cards so often that the biographies imprinted themselves on our minds without effort. Even our street corner conversations were filled with such information as the fact that James Madison was called the father of the Constitution, or that John Adams had intended to become a minister. The president cards were a roaring success, and the cowboy cards were quickly forgotten. In the first place, we did not receive gum with the cards, but a kind of chewy caramel. The caramel could be tucked into the corner of our mouth, bulging your cheek in the same manner as wads of tobacco bulge the mouths of baseball stars. In the second place, the competition for collecting the cards was fierce and frustrating. Fierce because everyone was intent on being the first to send away for a baseball glove, and frustrating because although there were only 32 presidents, including Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the variety of Lemires was at a minimum. When the delivery man left the boxes of cards at the store each Monday, we often discovered that one entire box was devoted to a single president. 2 weeks in a row, the boxes contained nothing but Abraham Lincolns. One week, Roger Luzier and I were the heroes of Frenchtown. We journeyed on our bicycles to Northside, engaged 3 boys in a matching bout, and returned with 5 new presidents, including Chester Alan Arthur, who up to that time had been missing. Perhaps to sharpen our desire, the card company sent a sample glove to Mr. Lemire, and it dangled orange and sleek, smooth or shiny, in the window. I was half sick with longing, thinking of my old glove at home which I had inherited from Armand, but Rolly Tremain's desire for the glove outdistanced my own. He even got Mr. Lemire to agree to give the glove in the window to the first person to get a complete set of cards, so that precious time wouldn't be wasted waiting for the postman. We were delighted at Rolly Tremain's frustration, especially since he was only a substitute player for the Tigers. Once, after spending 50 cents on cards, all of which turned out to be a Calvin Coolidge, he threw them to the ground, pulled some dollar bills out of his pocket, and said, "The heck with it, I'm going to buy a glove." "Not that glove," Roger Luzier said. "Not a glove with Lefty Grove's autograph. Look what it says at the bottom of the sign." We all looked, although he knew the words by heart. This glove is not for sale anywhere." Rolly Tremain scrambled to pick up the cards from the sidewalk, pouting more than ever. After that he was quietly obsessed with the presidents, hugging the cards close to his chest and refusing to tell us how many more he needed to complete his set. I, too, was obsessed with the cards, because they had become a thing of comfort in the world that had suddenly grown dismal. After Christmas, a layoff, or a situation when employees are released from their jobs, usually for a limited time, at the shop had thrown my father out of work. He received no paycheck for 4 weeks. The only income we had was from Armand's after-school job at the Blue and White grocery store, a job he lost finally when business dwindled as the layoff continued. Although we had enough food and clothing, my father's credit had always been good, a matter of pride with him. The inactivity made my father restless and irritable. He did not drink any beer at all, and laughed loudly, but not convincingly, after gulping down a glass of water and saying, "Lent came early this year." The twins fell sick and went to the hospital to have their tonsils removed. My father was confident that he would return to work eventually and pay off his debts, but he seemed to age before our eyes. When orders again were received at the comb shop and he returned to work, another disaster occurred. Although I was the only one aware of it, Armand fell in love. I discovered the situation by accident, when I happened to pick up a piece of paper that had fallen to the floor in the bedroom he and I shared. I frowned at the paper, puzzled. "Dear Sally, when I look into your eyes the world stands still." The letter was snatched from my hands before I finished reading it. "What's the big idea? Snooping around?" Armand asked, his face crimson. "Can't a guy have any privacy?" We had never mentioned privacy before. "It was on the floor," I said. "I didn't know it was a letter. Who's Sally?" He flung himself across the bed. "You tell anybody and I'll muckalize you," he threatened. "Sally Knowlton." Nobody in Frenchtown had a name like Knowlton. "A girl from the North Side?" I asked, incredulous. He rolled over. "A girl from the North Side?" I asked, incredulous. He rolled over and faced me, anger in his eyes, a kind of despair, too.